How's it going, everybody, and welcome to episode 230 of Master My Garden podcast. Now, this week's episode, we're getting back to an episode, a type of episode that I used to love doing, and that was the open garden features. And this week, I'm delighted to be talking to Paula Byrne from Kilgar Gardens. Now, Kilgar Gardens is on the road between Kilcock and Summerhill, and to set the scene, and we'll get into the detail of it shortly. It's a 3-acre garden, but within that garden, there's several different gardens. So it's gardens or a series of gardens within a garden. And Paula has this as an open garden. It's open the first weekend of every month for the rest of 2024. And it's a garden that I haven't been, but I've drove by it a few times. And actually, from the road, even it looks like a nice, fabulous place. And I can't wait to get to see it sometime soon. So, Paula, you're very, very welcome to Master My Garden podcast.
Hi, John. How are you?
Good, good. Great to have you.
Yeah.
So, as I say, I've passed by it several times, but never gone in. So, just outside Kilcock on the left-hand side as you head towards Summerhill. And outside, the hedges, mature hedges outside and all of that looks really nice, tidy. It looks like a very appealing place. But take us inside the garden gate. Tell us a little bit about Kilgar Gardens, when it started, and then maybe about the gardens themselves.
Well, so many people say that when they come in to visit the garden, like they say, "Oh, I passed here all the time, and I've been meaning to pop in." And then 3 years later, they're here.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's we built the house in 2007, and I just had a little garden at the side of the house. I wanted just a cottage garden. That was my dream, of just having a little small cottage garden. It was a big site, a big field. So a lot of the boundary hedging went in. And most of it was a football pitch, to be honest, for
Right.
years. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was quite happy with 2 little gardens at the
Yeah.
side of the house, with one strip down either side. And yeah, that's about as much time I had to put into the garden at that time. But
Yeah.
yeah, just got the bug, and basically had no experience whatsoever in gardening before I came here. Had experience in interior design, just did a course in that before we built the house. So I just found that fantastic.
Yeah.
Same supply outside,
It,
designing a room, color, focal points, vista, scale, proportion. It just came natural then after that. It was just um yeah, it
it's it's incredible you say that, because there's lots of people that talked on the podcast, and they've been gardening all their lives, or they've picked up gardening from grandparents, particularly grandparents, but that it's in their life all their life essentially.
yeah,
But there's also a lot of people that come to it later, um, and they they get a bug, as you said.
yeah.
And there's several people who have open gardens who have been on the podcast, and it has been the exact same way. They just got their house or moved house and then started doing a little bit and then got hooked. Which is incredible that that you get so hooked at that stage, and then it becomes, I suppose, it becomes
Well,
a
it
bigger
just becomes
part.
your space, your project. Um, for me, I just love the freedom of it.
Right.
Being able to go out and do what you want, plant what you want, the freedom of being outside. And yeah, that for me was just, and having a project and being able to work on a project and see it develop. 3 years on, like, you'd have a vision of what the garden is going to look like. And then you come 3 years on, and it's better than you ever thought it would be. And that just becomes
Yeah.
yeah, a bug, to be honest.
And then that project completed or delivered to the plan,
Yeah,
then that sort of sparks the next
that's
phase or the
it. Yeah,
next
it
project
just
or whatever.
encourages you, gives you confidence, and getting to know your plants. Like when I started planting first, it would take me 3 days to put in the plants. I moved them 10 times, and now it just comes natural. And
Second nature. Yeah.
yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. So you train yourself, and you learn just so much. And it's not just about the gardening. Like, you have to be positive. You have to look forward. You have to, you're always looking forward to something when you're gardening.
Hmm.
Even in the worst, like this winter was so wet, you're just living for spring.
Yeah, yeah.
planting the bulbs, and you're waiting for them to come up. So it's just great for your headspace and keeping you looking forward and keeping you positive. You have to be positive when you're a gardener. There's no doubt about it. You just
Yeah,
have,
because there will be setbacks,
yeah,
but
absolutely. Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's also, I suppose, I forget who it was. I think it was Anya the
Oh, she's fantastic.
yeah, Anya Leightonberg. She was on the podcast last year, and she said that, there was things that failed,
Yeah.
but there was always something that succeeded. And like you say, you stick in a bulb, and 6 months later there's a flower there, and that gives you a lift.
Yeah.
Or you plant something and one dies, but then the other one is beautiful flower, and again that gives you a lift. And it's
And
these,
and for me, I can't understand people who say, "Oh, I have that plant and it's grand, but it only flowers for a week and then it's gone." For me, that's even more special because it flowers for a week.
yeah, yeah,
I suppose there's two ways of looking at everything, and you have to look at it the positive way. And yeah,
yeah,
so
brilliant.
definitely.
And when this garden started in 2007, just had you come from a garden of any sort in your previous home?
We lived in a little cottage and it was a lovely garden, but it was
Right.
mostly all shrubs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you go out and you cut them into your balls every spring,
Yeah.
and I became very, very, very bored with it. Um,
And was that a garden that you had planted yourself, or was that one that
no,
was no?
no,
So
it was one
so
that was there, and
yeah,
it was growing around us, and I had to get out and maintain it, and
right.
that's really started it. Yeah,
Yeah. And so this new garden then became, I suppose, an opportunity to express yourself, and
yeah.
the fact that you were doing interior design, you had that bit of a flair, that bit of
I didn't realize that though at the time.
right.
It's only when I started doing things that I realized it's the same thing. It's just how your head works.
Mm. And were you a sketcher, or are you a sketcher? So if you come up
No,
with this, so you're not. So this is in your
no.
head. You
Pictures, folders,
right.
pictures, books, and just a vision in my head.
Okay.
Even one of the gardens, the rose garden, um, when I marked that out, I marked it out in the snow. So I came down, there
Good
was
way
a
of
wet
marking it.
carpet of snow, and I marked out the paths, and then I went upstairs and I looked down and just looked at the scale and the proportion of it, and marked it out after that, and it was, yeah,
Brilliant.
perfect. So
Brilliant. An easy way of
yeah,
marking it out, actually, and a,
yeah,
and a good way
yeah.
of getting a visualization
Yeah,
of
it
it.
was just to look at your scale and your proportion, and that's the most important thing at the start, I suppose. And then getting in your 3 stories of planting and your focal points. And in this garden, when you're in one garden, there's always something when you look ahead. I always say to my visitors, as gardeners, we look down. We're always looking down, looking for
Hmm.
the weeds or whatever. But I asked them to look ahead
Okay.
because there's always something leading you into the next garden or a focal point that makes you want to go on that journey through the garden.
Right.
So that's good design, I think.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure. There's something drawing your eye and
yes,
leading you on
yeah,
a journey.
yeah,
So maybe take a slight step back, and we'll go back to the road. So take us on this journey through the gates, into Kilgar Garden, and
yeah,
it's a big site. It's 3-acre site, and
yeah.
then within that there's a series of gardens. So maybe take us along and bring us through the garden virtually.
So there's a series of gardens. A lot of the gardens would be the size of your average townhouse garden.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I think that's appealing to people when they come to say, well, I could have that in the back of my townhouse garden. The first garden, the poppy garden, that's changed a lot.
Okay.
Um, so it's now all the hot colours.
Okay.
Cannas have just gone out into it. So there's about 20
Yeah.
cannas in it. All the hot colours, the foliage of the plants chosen for their colour as much as the colour of the plants. So it's the reds and the oranges and the yellows. And um, I've been working hard in all the gardens trying to get continuous colour.
Okay.
Like before, each garden peaked at a certain time.
Hmm.
Now, the last few years, I want them to be good the whole year round. But
Right.
that's
And how's that going?
it's
It's difficult
going good.
in a
Yeah.
hot garden, or with
Yeah.
hot
I'm
colors.
getting more and more satisfied with it.
Okay. So,
It's the bulbs basically are the trick, I think. Yeah.
yeah, so that you're getting your narcissi, your
Yeah.
tulips particularly, and then that's
Yeah.
leading into your perennials
It's
and your
difficult when you have individual gardens. that's the difficult bit.
Hmm.
Get continuous colour or interest in each garden through the seasons. Might be a little bit of a lull in between, but yeah, it's getting better, definitely getting better at it.
Yeah. So the
I
first
go from
garden,
there then into the June garden.
okay.
Called it the June garden for obvious reasons. It's fabulous in mid-June. It's just starting to peak now. All the
Okay.
old roses are in there. They flower once, and I grow clematis up through those old shrub roses to give colour later on. And I've extended the beds, widened the beds to get in later colour.
Okay. And
So
is this your rose garden, or is there a separate rose garden as well?
there's a separate rose garden.
All right, so I'm stepping ahead here. Hold on.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
so we go from the poppy garden. Why was that called the poppy garden originally? Just as a matter of interest.
Because it had loads of poppies in
Loads
it.
of poppies, and now that
Yeah,
has switched to
oh,
more
it
hot
has changed.
colors.
Yeah,
So and then you're moving into the June garden, which peaks in June.
yeah.
Uh, where are we heading for next in terms of?
You're
We'll come
going
back on them
then.
all.
Yeah, you're going then into the rose garden, which is at the
Okay.
back of the house.
And that's kind of one of the big things for Kilgar is the rose garden. It's one of the
Yeah,
main things in it.
yeah. I have I'd say about 50 roses in the garden, if not more. Um, a lot of them David Austin roses. The rose garden is mostly David Austin roses, but all around the house and in the other gardens, just sure. I find the Irish grown roses the best. They're just super easy. They never fail, to be
Yeah,
honest. They're just good, strong, healthy roses. Um, the roses do well here. There's good airflow.
yeah.
Um, I've no shelter really at the back of the house, so they're getting good wind, they're getting sun, they're in a nice open area and good soil.
Mhm.
Just start off with good soil and no competition around your roses. I
Yeah,
think that's the trick when you're getting them started.
yeah, it's a big thing.
Yeah.
I suppose the question that everyone now always has with roses, how are you staying on top of, airflow is a big thing, and you've mentioned that you do have that. How are you staying on top of, black spot and mildew and all of those type of things? Are you
So
doing
I do
anything?
spray my roses twice a
Yeah,
year.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you're using just off the shelf product, or is
Yes.
there
Yeah.
is there a trick that you have?
No, there isn't. I think the trick is to have your roses healthy.
Hmm. Have them growing
Uh,
vigorously.
yes.
Yeah,
If your
absolutely.
roses are healthy, I mean, you may get away with just spraying them once a year. That's happened here.
Hmm.
You know, I won't spray them unless I absolutely need to.
Yeah, yeah,
So, when they're healthy, you just don't, you're spraying them less. If
yeah.
I have something, if I have a rose out there that's looking miserable,
Mhm.
to be honest, it's gone. It's just not worth having.
Hmm. So, and when you say have them growing healthy, are you doing anything specific? You're mulching the soil, I presume.
Mulching,
Yeah, and
mulching. I
that's
never feed them.
never feed. So it's just purely
No.
feeding the soil as opposed to feeding
Yeah,
the plant. Yeah,
yeah,
brilliant.
yeah.
And then the plants themselves are more resilient and
That's it.
healthier and grown
Yeah.
more vigorously, and then
And
they're
I
less
do
susceptible.
think the right position
Yeah, I
is
think that's a big
absolutely
thing.
key. Yeah. I
Yeah,
have roses at the front of the house and they're not near as good as the roses at the back of the house where they're getting full sun,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
also getting the air and yeah, so that's important as well.
Yeah, it still always comes back to right place, right plant, right place, doesn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. So that's the rose garden, and stepping on, then where are we heading for
You
next?
go into the Mediterranean garden,
Oh, nice.
which was originally the vegetable patch. Yeah.
Right.
The vegetables went to the compost heap most of the time. So I grow a lot of my own cut flowers.
Okay.
So a lot of the annuals go in there. It has gravel pots, a few olive trees, so, loads of lavender herbs. It's a pretty garden, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But,
Uh,
apple trees, room to sit, and yeah, I think a lot of people really just like that garden.
nice. Sounds brilliant. Again, we'll come back on them all and kind of maybe talk about plants that are within these gardens as well. But I know there's a water feature somewhere. I've seen it on your website.
Yeah,
So there's a nice
that's the
water feature.
last garden.
Oh,
So
yeah,
before we get to that garden, we go into the meadow garden.
right.
Uh, after the Mediterranean garden, the first few gardens are all symmetrical and square and have a formality to them. But
Hmm.
after the Mediterranean garden, the paths start to curve and the planting gets softer and wilder, and it becomes a lot more relaxed. So the meadow garden is like that. It's 2 little houses in it and 2 little sheds in it. One just customized sheds. I customized myself. The roof off my dad's old shed is in one of them, and all his milk and parlour stuff is in it. His old rocking chair, and there's another little shed in it, and it's like a little florist house. My mum was a florist, so
Brilliant.
it just, yeah. And the path curves, and as you're walking in the path, the planting is high and airy. It's loads of like amimages and cow parsley and verbena, and it's tall and airy, and all the plants are repeated through it. So you're picking a selection of plants and repeating them through the garden, and it's
Brilliant.
giving that meadow look.
Sounds,
yeah,
that sounds like a relaxing spot. So I presume there's a few seats in there as well somewhere.
yeah.
And then you step through to the last garden, which you said
Yeah,
has
you
the
can
water
go on a
feature.
little path then down to I have the raised beds where I plant all the cut flowers. So that's that was only planted out there a couple of weeks, and I just go down there and cut flowers and use them for bouquets. But the last garden I did is the Serenity garden. Definitely my favourite.
Yeah.
It's most people's favourite. It's just something about it. It's just a lovely feeling in it, and it's maturing really well. So you know, when you start a garden and you have this vision, and then 3 years on, you say, yeah, it's looking good now. And then 4 years on, you just say, this is really lovely. And I'm at that stage now where it is just the satisfaction is really there at the minute.
And it's a new water feature, cordon
There's a
steel.
pond. Yeah, there's a pond in it, which I thought long and hard about putting in. But it's, I got the idea, I went on a trip to France and went into this lovely garden, and it was quite a small garden, but the paths all meandered in it, and it was really densely planted. So you went on this journey through this really which was a small site, but you felt like you were in a really big garden. So I came home and the grass had grown long because I'd been on holidays, and I just took out the lawnmower and mowed strips through paths through the garden.
Yeah.
And gave the beds a good mulching. It's poor soil, it's wet, and yes, parts of it are heavy clay. So I just mulched on top of the grass and let it die off over winter, and started planting it then in the spring.
Brilliant.
With
So
the
no dig effectively.
no dig, no
it's-
diggers, no dig, no big mess. It was perfect. Like the trees went in really the first year, so it was perfect for the trees. And working really hard now at getting the woodland plants in. I had the back of the garden, like all the other gardens, are full sun. So this was an area of creating shade, dapple shade, and getting in my woodland plants and bulbs. And yeah, it's really lovely. I put in the pond, put in some steel arbors. There's 6 or 7 of those. Big arches in the garden, so they bring you on that journey through the path. And I finished off around the pond with the same steel, a circle of steel around the pond. There's lovely birds in it. Emma Jane Rushmore made the birds. She's from Greystones.
Oh, I saw those. They're beautiful, but they're unusual looking. They're kind of they're metal with wicker through it, is it?
Wire, made from wire.
It's all wire.
All wire.
Oh wow. Yeah,
They're
they're class
incredible.
looking. Yeah,
Yeah,
class.
detail, and they change color. They can go from blue during the winter. Like they're just really, her work is amazing.
So it's obviously copper then, or it's copper material,
It
is it?
changes to copper. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're lifelong. I mean, they're just completely sturdy, and they're just so brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, they're gorgeous because I saw them on your website, but I haven't seen them in person, obviously. But they look brilliant, and I thought it was actually metal with wicker through it. Just looking at it on the
No wicker,
on the picture.
all wire.
Brilliant, yeah, class, really good. What it sounds like is that there's a different feeling in all of these gardens.
That's it. yeah.
And I
Um,
suppose a
for
different,
me, I've been through a lot of gardens, and a good garden to me is that feeling when you go inside and
mm,
say, "Oh, this is it. I love this garden."
yeah,
Wullerton Hall in England was one of those gardens where you just went in and said, "This is really, this does it for me."
yeah.
And you do just. I think here is known for peaceful garden. Yeah,
Mm.
dropping your mood a bit and just
Yeah, it's funny. There's a couple of gardens. There's Huntingbrook, obviously. There's one down in the valley in Huntingbrook in Jimmy Blake's garden.
yeah.
There's a feeling there, and it's not a feeling necessarily about the
No.
garden itself. There's an
It's
energy
my
there.
favorite part of Jimmy's garden, to be honest. I
Yeah,
just
likewise.
love it.
And I haven't been in a couple of years, but there's a feeling you get there. It's it is about the garden to a certain extent, but even if you forgot about the garden, there's a kind of an energy or something there,
Yeah.
and it really is a special place to be.
Yeah, it's
And
a very soothing place to be, like
yeah, for sure.
mental wise. It just, yeah,
Yeah.
I love that part of his garden.
Yeah, and there's other places, not necessarily gardens, that I would get that same feeling, but that was definitely, I remember that distinctly, getting that feeling in that area.
But I
It was
think
just
that's a gardener's personality as well in their garden. I
mm,
think it rubs off
yeah, yeah, possibly.
in a sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And you've created then, I guess, these different feelings through the garden, because obviously this garden, and we'll reverse back through them in a minute and maybe talk about plants, the different plants that are within them. But um, talking about the last garden where you have the shade and the dappled shade and the shade loving plants and bulbs, and that's your favorite garden, the most calming garden, you said. But then coming back to the meadow, there's a sort of I guess, that style of a garden, there's a bit of freedom in that. And then you come back to the hot colors, the Mediterranean. There's different feelings within them all, I guess,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
is quite
Yeah.
unique as well.
Yeah.
Sounds very interesting, actually, to see and feel that. Yeah. So we'll do a backwards tour through it now, and we might just
Right.
go a little bit more detail into the plants as such. So your favorite garden at the end started off with big trees. What were they? What sort of trees went in? And
I've loads of cornice trees, my favorite. They're fabulous now at the minute. I'd say we'll get another week probably out of the cornice trees. They're just, I love them. I've loads of them. Yeah.
yeah, and which
Lots of
variety was it,
hydrangeas.
or
Pardon?
what variety was it?
The cornice cousas.
Carnes Cousas, yeah,
Yeah.
brilliant, gorgeous
Yeah.
tree, yeah.
Yeah.
And so you've a block of them planted
Yeah.
them,
I
yeah,
have. I
yeah, because
go all or nothing, to be honest.
yeah,
I
because a lot of people
go,
will put that in as a specimen, sort of single entity
no,
tree, but you've planted these on.
no, no, when
Brilliant.
they're out, they're out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how
Same with the
many?
hydrangeas. So like there's 30 or 40 hydrangeas in that garden.
Brilliant.
But when they're out, they're out. And yeah, grasses. There's about, I think I planted 80 millennia grasses underneath the blossom trees.
Wow.
So when the blossom trees, they're lovely now, but when in autumn, the blossom trees, when the leaves start to go bronze, so do the grasses. And
Yes.
yeah, that's a lovely sight as well.
Beautiful contrast between the two
Yeah,
then. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So there's lots of grasses as well. And then some specimen plants, like there's oh God, go back in and think magnolias and
Yeah.
getting in all. Now I'm getting like the one-off specimen trees and plants and putting them in. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's still
And yeah, and bulbs, you mentioned bulbs, what's going into that garden.
the
So I
bulbs
presume
are all white
crocus,
daffodils.
white
All
daffodils.
yeah,
Brilliant.
all white.
Yeah.
So
And
massive white daffodils.
yeah, class. And
Snowdrop.
so you're going to
Yeah.
have scented ones in there, I guess, because a lot of it's
Dahlia, my favorite.
brilliant.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah.
So I suppose a lot of the planting there is like a lot of times it is white.
Right.
White foxgloves, they all self-seed under the white blossom trees.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's not that I've planned it that way. It just seems to be the way it has developed. Um, the snowdrops are lovely. They're coming on lovely, actually. And then the bluebells come out, the daffodils, fritillarias, the tulip sylvestris, that's lovely. That runs through some of the garden. Yeah.
Yeah, so and you're going big impact. You're like the quantities you're mentioning are big in
Yeah.
all of these. So
Yeah, it's a big garden, John.
yeah, you're getting a big
Don't
impact
hold them
from all
back.
of this. Yeah, great
Yeah.
stuff. And
Tetrapanics as well. I've a lot of tetrapanics in it, and like I'm running that through one of the big beds as you're coming in the house, in the driveway. I'd like 7 or 8 big tetrapanics in
nice
that
one.
garden. So yeah,
And so they're giving you that big
yeah,
leaf,
yeah,
unusual leaf, and
lovely.
and a canopy like umbrella almost, and then
Yeah,
you're underneath it
yeah,
with something else. Yeah,
yeah.
class. Uh,
Dramatic. So
Dramatic looking is right. Yeah. And how do you find it do for you there?
brilliant.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
so-
Yeah. Lots of little babies every year and spread them around and
brilliant.
there.
Brilliant.
So it's become sheltered now. So I'm also getting in. There's a good few acers in it as well, which I couldn't grow to start. So a few lovely specimens of acers in
Yeah,
it.
that's nice now that you're getting a bit of shelter that
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
able to start to
Oh, I'm
introduce.
in my element now. And around the pond then has all the iris out at the minute.
Yeah, irises are looking brilliant at the minute.
Yeah, I love them.
Yeah. There's a lot of plants on this list, isn't
I
there?
know. I keep
Yeah.
saying, well, what's your favorite plant?
And we're still only in the first garden or the
Yeah,
last garden
yeah.
as we reverse back here. So the previous garden to that then was, am I right in saying that was the meadow garden, was it?
Meadow garden.
As we
Yeah.
step back. So in here you said you were planting blocks and then repeating that block across the garden pretty
Yeah.
much.
So not so much blocks, but say picking 15 variety of plants and running those through the garden.
Okay.
So you're getting that meadow look. You're getting there's antristis in it and the amimages and the cow parsley look, the
Yeah.
verbena, sanguisorba, the cranberry, sanguisorba, pesicarias, all that kind of that kind of look and feel it. And the trees are actually I planted the trees at the beginning. They're apple trees, and I've pruned them into a really nice shape. So they're actually lovely as well in it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're going to get obviously great color there early in the
Great
year
crop
and
of apples every year.
great
Yeah.
crop of apples. Yeah. And just out of interest, what sort of what varieties of apples are do you know?
No idea.
No idea.
No
They're a long
idea.
time
I
and all
just
doing
picked
well.
apple trees at the start and put them in.
Brilliant.
Never thought
Uh,
anyone would be asking me the name of the apple tree for a minute.
Out of interest, I was just asking out of interest because well, I run a grow your own food course, and on that there's certain varieties that I see doing well here that and others that are not doing well. So I was only just
Right.
interested to see what
Yeah.
ones are doing really well elsewhere.
Yeah. Sorry. No, I can't help you.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. So then we went back into the cut flower garden, I think, was it?
No. So you're going into the Mediterranean garden.
Mediterranean garden.
Yeah.
And so what obviously there we're seeing, you mentioned olive trees, you
The
mentioned
olive tree.
lavender.
The pots are planted with cacti and aeoniums, all no watering in the pots. There's herbs in the pots. I even have a few strawberries in the pots and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
A lot of herbs. Loads of dahlias gone in there. So I lift all the dahlias, bring them in, and they're all gone out now in the last few weeks. Salvias. Yeah, a bit of everything in it. What else? God, I'm trying to think what else. Oh, Nepeta and yeah, it's pretty. Like it's
Yeah, and the Peter's brilliant for just
absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
grows everywhere, grows anywhere, and good color.
There's lovely standard privets actually lining the path.
Nice.
So, and the Nepeta is underneath, so you're getting that purple walk as you're walking down the.
Oh yeah, lovely.
Yeah, yeah. So that's nice. Yeah,
And did you buy them as standard privets or did
I
you
did.
actually
No, I bought them as
you bought them
standard.
as standard? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And they're easy to keep then as well, of course.
super easy. Trimmed them
Super
twice
easy.
a year.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
yeah. Marcella's
Brilliant.
job. He takes
Brilliant,
great
yeah.
pride in that. So
Yeah. And then the previous garden to that
you're
was
going into the rose garden, then you're
into the
going back
rose
to
garden.
the rose
So
garden.
back into the David Aston roses. You
Yeah.
reckon you have, is it 50 roses or 50 varieties of rose?
50 to 60 roses, not
Yeah.
50 varieties. Yeah.
And so what
No.
varieties are you growing?
Princess Anne, there's Wild Eve. Oh, I have Bosco Bell is my favorite.
Bosco
Not so
Bell.
much because it's a good, strong, healthy rose, but the flower is the roses itself. The color changes, and it's my favorite.
Yeah.
Princess Anne, I would say, definitely the strongest rose to grow, David Austin wise, and big blousy. I mean, if you want a big blousy rose, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And scented, have you scented flowers in there?
I think I'm gone immune, to be honest, to which one. You go out at like a day like today now, where it's there's a breeze.
Yeah.
The scent is amazing.
Yeah, for
There's
sure.
arches there as well, and rambling roses up those Bobby James. They flower once, and then I've wisteria going up the other side, so that'll give something else.
Yeah, give you a bit of variety, yeah.
Yeah. And the
Brilliant.
back then it's open. There's a metal railings, and it's open out into the field. So like you're getting the formality of the roses, but then you're looking out into a field basically where the cows come up to the fence, and so
Yeah.
it's a nice contrast.
Contrast, yeah. So you have the
Yeah,
formal rose garden and then
You're
cows
looking
looking
out
over
into the
the
cows.
yeah, brilliant.
So, yeah, it's lovely.
Um then you were stepping back into the previous garden was the
The June garden.
June garden, right? So
June garden,
that's coming
yeah.
into its prime at the moment,
Yeah,
or it's in its prime at the moment. So
yeah. The
what
tilitrums are lovely there at the minute. I have some cornice trees in there as well, the smaller cornice trees. The roses are just starting to bloom there. The wild roses or the old shrub roses like William Lobb and Cardinal Larishu, and that they flower once.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, but they're special when they come out. Lovely.
and what you so this is not the hot bar. No, the hot one is
Yeah,
is
that's the
the
last one.
last one as we go. So
You'll have to come.
roses, yeah,
Get your
definitely,
head
yeah.
sorted.
Get my head around it.
Yeah,
So yeah, that sounds like a nice garden as well at this time of the year. And then we're into the hot garden, and this is
yeah,
the one with the cannas. So you're going
yeah,
for leaf color,
yeah,
vibrancy, that sort of thing. So
yeah.
maybe go through the plants list there.
Well, I even planted some sunflowers in there this week. They're real chocolatey dark sunflowers.
Nice.
Put a lot of annuals in there. Um, the beds are not. That's a small garden now, and the beds are not wide.
Hmm.
So the cannas alone have like about 20 cannas went in there this week. There's rose hot chocolate is in there. That's fabulous rose as well.
Yeah,
Um, there's a few standard privets in it. The wild rose, the flower carpet rose, I mean, yellow.
yeah.
And oh, I actually planted. So there was a box hedge frame in that garden, and I took it out. It was miserable. And last year I went to Lidl and I got a dianthus, and it was black, and it was amazing. Right in Lidl when I was getting my pint of milk, I got this dianthus and I loved it. So I saved the seed,
Okay,
cut the stems, turn it upside down in a bucket, and let it dry off. And I had hundreds of seeds. So
brilliant.
yeah, I had about 50 pots of this dianthus, and I framed that garden in it, and it's black and it's starting to flower now, and it's
Brilliant.
gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that sounds interesting.
yeah, the group actually the other day, and she asked me, but what's the name of it? And I said, Lidl's dianthus. So yeah,
Yeah, no idea, but it looks
yeah,
brilliant and unusual,
yeah, it's lovely.
and not necessarily something you think in the hot garden as such, with
Yeah,
that
the
color, like.
hot color, like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
black, and I have yellow beside it. Can't think at the minute, but there's lot oranges, and so yeah, it's a lovely contrast with the oranges and yellows and
yeah, I'd imagine. Yeah, brilliant. And black flowers typically,
black flowers.
sometimes they can look super.
I
Yeah,
love
like,
them,
yeah,
but
like
I do flower arranging as well, and you're making a bouquet if you put in a little bit of black and a little bit of orange,
yeah, you're getting a massive
all the other
contrast then.
colors. Yeah, and you really teach yourself doing that, the combinations that work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, orange always works, and I have a black scabious as well, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Funny. TJ Maher was on the podcast a few weeks ago, and he talked about the color wheel and how he
he's an
uses.
artist as well. Well, I
Yeah,
paint as well, so we're probably
you're probably on the same using the same system. So
yeah,
he,
it's
he, he
fabulous with his colors.
yeah, he talked about the artist wheel, and there's an artist wheel in his book, and basically the idea is that if colors are side by side on the artist wheel, that they'll work together in the border or the bed or whatever.
Yeah,
And it's funny, the other day I was putting in some plants around a new seating area, where we sit, where our sort of barbecue area is. The sun hits it from 12 o'clock in the day
yeah,
until it disappears at night. It's brilliant for late sun. But first thing in the morning, it's freezing. So we put a little spot out the back if you're having a cup of coffee outside, the odd morning that you can do it.
yeah.
But anyway, I was planting a few bits out there, and I found myself looking at the color wheel to see because I do not have the artist eye, or I don't have the interior designer sort of, I don't have that. Simple as that.
Yeah.
So
That
I found,
comes. I mean, you don't just get that. That comes with time.
yeah, probably,
Yeah,
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 and maybe getting used to it, and like
that's it.
to be honest, in terms of the ornamental garden here, for us here at the moment, it's all about growing food at the moment.
Yeah.
So the
And
ornamental,
there's nothing as nice, I think, as
oh, for sure.
a veg patch is just
Yeah,
is
I love it.
yeah, yeah,
So every day we're taking something from it. So it's like that's really important
yeah,
for us here. Obviously, in time we'd like to get the rest of it looking beautiful. But anyway, so I looked at the color wheel, and I was just about to put two things together, and I said, "Here, I better have a look at this wheel." So I came back inside, picked out the book, and they were on totally opposite sides. So I
yeah,
moved.
yeah,
So it'll be interesting to see. By using that a little bit, I'm sure it's going to work. So,
yeah.
yeah,
You know
but
what?
it
Most of the time it just works.
works anyway. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for
You
sure.
can't get too caught up on all these things. You just go with it. And I mean, flowers together just work.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, yeah, okay, you do get your nice combinations sometimes, but like if I go out to cut flowers for bouquet, I'm taking them from every garden. I'm putting them all together,
yeah,
and they're
and
fabulous.
yeah, and they look well anyway. So
And
yeah,
they're totally natural.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. You
it's all
mentioned you mentioned annuals that you're putting through the hot garden particularly, and I think into the June garden as well. I think you mentioned annuals. So what annuals are you using, or what ones are you using
oh,
to give that
I
pop of
grow
color?
loads. Yeah, I haven't mastered the habit of sowing half packet of seeds. I have to sow the whole packet. So I end up, oh my God, these have to get planted in somewhere. So
Yeah,
yeah, I grow everything. Molicella, Tagetes, Tahoni, I love it in the
yeah,
hot garden. Chinese forget-me-nots. They've gone under the roses.
yeah.
They're pinks and blues. Um, your
Cosmos.
snapdragons, yeah, snapdragons. You can't do without them for a
Yeah,
hand. Okay.
yeah.
And I love trying every year. I pick 5 or 6 different packets, something different, and
Hmm.
have a go. I
Brilliant.
I just love sowing seeds,
Yeah. So
have them
you
go.
you obviously have a greenhouse on site then as well, I
I
presume.
have 2 polytunnels and a greenhouse, and they are a health hazard. You have to back your way out of one. Spring. And I
Uh,
literally one year, if anyone seen me, I fell back into a crate. And I just sat there. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Like they are a health hazard.
right.
They're just so packed at
But I
all
bet
times.
you they're very productive.
They are, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So like there's a lot of plants in this garden, and obviously you're buying certain things, specimen trees,
yeah.
your standard privets and all that. You're
I'm
buying
very
all
good at
those.
sneaking plants in.
Yeah, very good.
Very good.
And so, but you're obviously doing a lot of propagation. Is it just sowing
Yeah.
seed you do, or do you do anything
Um,
else?
well, I take my salvia cuttings and yeah, mostly sown seeds, to be
Yeah.
honest. Yeah.
And
I'm not so the cuttings are usually at a time of the year when I'm just busy.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Um the seeds, like if I want 10 or 15 or something, I'm not gonna buy it. I'm gonna
yeah,
buy the seeds. And now I know, like, you grow your foxgloves, you grow your sweet Williams, like you
Yeah.
just basically your grasses are so easy to grow from seed.
Yeah, for sure.
It really is. And like if I didn't known at the start, like when I started gardening, I always thought sowing seeds, that's for experienced gardeners.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not.
Yeah.
So
And
if you're going to start gardening, that's the first thing you should do. Buy
yeah,
yourself and have a go.
yeah, perennials, like in the autumn time, perennials, biennials, grasses, it's just so easy. If you have a tunnel or a greenhouse or somewhere to
Yeah,
put them, obviously.
yeah,
Um, just sow them. You could sprinkle of water and then I not say forget about them, but you don't have to do much with them then till the
no,
following spring and then move
yeah,
them on. And
that's
it's
it.
so easy.
And
And
so satisfying.
yeah, and you can have,
I went out today and I'd 2 trays of foxgloves and I just went out under the trees and planted them out. In
yeah, brilliant.
like there's masses of them, from just a
Yeah,
pack
yeah,
of seeds.
yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, it's so easy, and
yeah,
as you say, people are a bit daunted by sowing seeds and
yeah.
maybe a little bit afraid of it, but they
Just
definitely
read the
shouldn't.
packet. Just
Yeah,
read the packet and follow the instructions and I promise you it'll work.
yeah, for
I
sure,
mean,
for
all the
sure.
seeds I sow in spring, I'd have 2 polytunnels full. You're probably going to get 3 or 4 trays that didn't work
Yeah,
out of all that.
yeah, and
And
that's
that
no big
annoys me, to
deal.
be honest. That really bugs me. You have to get rid of them so quick because it's just going to grind on me. But
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah. You hate looking at them as you pass by.
yeah,
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 yeah. There's nothing as frustrating as that, or if you're growing a 6 pack or a 9 pack or something, and three
yeah,
of them or four of
yeah.
them have sprouted, but
That's
then the
the
others
problem.
haven't. Yeah, that's annoying as well.
Zinnias. Oh my God, I hate zinnias. I'm never buying another packet of zinnias because they just won't grow for me.
Right?
So that's
Yeah,
it.
no, there's certain things, all right, that can
Yeah,
be a struggle, isn't there? So you're doing a lot of the propagation yourself. There's a lot of gardens here. There's a
yeah,
series of gardens within the garden.
yeah,
How is, what's the important things? You mentioned mulching, obviously sowing seed, but like there's a lot of work here in this. So tell us
yeah.
how that happens.
So
It's
it's 4 days a week from Christmas for me.
mhm,
And I am like hell bent on doing those 4 days, no matter what the weather. And I know if I do those 4 days, I'm going to be okay then when it comes to open season.
mhm,
So, like, I know the gardens so well now. I know how long it's going to take me in each garden. It's daunting. I start to slow down in September, go on a holiday, and I might do a day here, a day there, or whatever. But
mhm.
once Christmas is over, that's it. I'm
Yeah,
back to work.
you're
Yeah,
you're back head down.
I am back to work, and I'll take one garden at a time.
Okay.
I
And
spend a week in each garden, and then repeat that process
yeah.
until
And
I have it the way I want it.
so at that stage you're going in, obviously tidy up. Are you
I'm
mulching?
going in, John, with a hedge trimmers,
Right.
those perennials, and I'm down to the ground with them. And this year, everything had to be put into ton bags. I couldn't get up to the compost heap; it was so wet.
Hmm.
So I ton bags, the big ton bags. I
Yeah,
use
yeah, yeah.
put all the stuff in it. It's good, like putting your leaves in some, and it's a good way of doing your composting.
Yeah.
And, and I leave the leaves in those
In the
bags.
bags, yeah.
Yeah, and the leaves go back out into the garden.
And you use them what, like 18 months later, 12 months later?
Yeah, 12 months later.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah. And there's no better
So
mulch to be putting
I
on.
have my system and I know what works and I love working on my own.
Yeah.
Yeah. Marcella's not here during the winter, so he works in the stud farm next door.
Okay.
He finishes at 4:30. Like it's dark at 3:30, 4 o'clock.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
he'll only start to come in the spring when the clocks change. And he might potter around in the shed down there and just to get out for a while.
Brilliant. Yeah. But I suppose, as you say, it's and something we talk about on the podcast a lot is I suppose when it comes to sowing seeds and particularly in the vegetable garden, once Christmas turns, everyone's starting to put stuff in, and there
Mm.
shouldn't be any panic in sowing
No,
seeds straight after
you don't
Christmas.
achieve anything.
Don't achieve anything, definitely not. But there's huge merit in getting out and doing your bit of edging, doing your cutting and your trimming, doing your mulching. There's huge merit in that because when it comes around to April, May, June, July, that work that you've done then pays huge dividends at that
Absolutely.
stage. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Now
Yeah.
sometimes it can be hard, I suppose, to motivate yourself to do it. You
You
have
have
no
to make
choice.
yourself.
Yeah, you have no
You have
choice because you
you
have
have
an
to make
open
yourself.
garden.
Once you're out there,
Yeah,
like you don't want to come in then.
yeah,
It
for
has the
sure.
opposite effect.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Yeah, for
know,
sure.
and you go out and you look at the weather and you say it's just god awful today. But actually when you're out in it,
It's
yeah,
rarely as bad as it looks when you're looking out
absolutely.
from the couch.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not. So the open garden is open for 2024. It's open the first weekend of every month.
Yes, from May to September.
Brilliant. So from May to September, first weekend of every month.
Yeah.
That's the Friday, the Saturday, and the Sunday,
Yeah.
or
And if it's a bank holiday, the
the bank
Monday.
holiday Monday as well. Brilliant. So for all the bank holidays, you're getting 4 days essentially, and three on every other weekend. That's
Yeah.
brilliant.
So you can
And
just come in, you spend your time in the garden. There's teas and cakes in the tea rooms. And yeah,
And we
it's
never mentioned your cakes because I
my
know
cake.
that's a big feature of
Aid
Dome
of my
there
life.
is Shh, don't say that.
Yeah.
So I know you mentioned like the cakes being an important part of a visit. But you're doing all the baking as well yourself,
I do
aren't
the
you?
bacon.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what's your specialty?
The carrot cake is more famous than the garden.
I hope my wife is not listening.
Yeah.
She loves her
Carrot.
carrot cake.
So I do carrot cake. I do coffee cake, bakewells, different bakewells.
Oh, Bakewells, yeah,
Bakewell.
there, that's
And
my one.
yeah,
Brilliant.
scones and coffee, and that's perfect.
Brilliant, yeah. So someone can come have a tea or a coffee, one of your famous cakes, and then take a stroll through the garden. Just the final thing before we start to close off. You mentioned at the very start that you want people to look up and move forward through the gardens.
Yes.
Um, is there something particularly that you're looking for to catch their eye, to draw them from one to the other,
There's
or is it the
when
sight?
yeah, when you're in one garden and you look ahead, you're going to see a little house, or you're going to see a gate, or you're going to see a path going through the next garden. So
Ah,
that's what I try to get the groups to do when they come.
okay. So
Make
within
them
each
want
garden,
to,
then.
yeah, when you're in one garden, it's to make you want to go in and see the other garden.
Okay, brilliant. So there's some enticer down the line that
Actually, yeah,
you can pick
yeah,
in your eye, and then you have to follow it.
yeah,
Brilliant, yeah. Good idea. And always leading through. So open the first weekend of every month right through to September, and then it's closed down for the winter and back at it after Christmas. Tell people where they can, find your website and all that so that they can plan their visits. Is it
Kilgargardens.com, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah, all the
and
information
I
is post regularly on Instagram, daily nearly on Instagram and Facebook. So
brilliant.
you get to even see the garden through the winter and see what I'm doing. And
Brilliant, yeah. And I'll put the all the details in the show notes anyway. But you don't pre-book or anything like that, or do
you
you?
don't pre-book
Yeah,
unless you have a group,
unless
10
you
or
have a group,
more. Yeah.
10 or more, just you need to pre-book, and other than that, just
And
arrive
just wander
on
in
the first
at
weekend of the
11
month.
to 5.
Brilliant. It's been really interesting chat. Like I've seen you obviously on Instagram, but I feel like I can visualize these gardens already after your explanation. So, but I'm really looking forward to getting to see them, and really looking forward to getting to taste the Bakewell as well when I do get
Yeah,
there.
I'll give you a big
Uh,
slice. So
yeah,
yeah.
brilliant. So it's been a really interesting chat. The garden sounds spectacular from the outside as you drive by it. It looks great. So I can
Well,
imagine.
there's
Oh,
tough
like
competition along that road, John. Like there's the stud farm one side of me and the golf course the other side, and they keep their road immaculate. So
yeah, yeah. You have no choice on
a
you keep up,
bit
I
of
suppose.
pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it does. It looks very nice. The entrance looks great. As I said, looking at you on Instagram, everything looks spectacular, and you've described it beautifully. So it
Thank
sounds
you.
like a garden that's really, really worth visiting. And yeah, you can check out Kilgar Gardens the first weekend of every month, right through to September. Paul, it's been really interesting chat, and thank you very, very much for coming on Master My Garden podcast.
Thanks very much, John. It's easier than I thought it would be.
So that's been this week's episode. A huge thanks to Paula for coming on. The gardens really do sound superb. Can't wait to get to see them. Definitely going to get up this year. We actually pass that road reasonably regularly, so I'm looking forward to getting in there. It's yeah, as I say, it sounds like an amazing garden, and the fact that it's relatable for people in that there's a series of gardens, each one that would be, you know, similar to an urban style back garden. So easy to replicate in your own garden, or to bring an idea and take it into your own garden. So yeah, really sounds like a place worth visiting. And yeah, can't wait to get to see it myself and to taste the bakewell, as I said. So that's been this week's episode. Thanks for listening. And until the next time, happy gardening.